Kausambi is a small village near Allahabad in Uttar Pradesh. It's an ordinary village, but it has one distinguishing feature. An Ashokan pillar which stands as a reminder of a glorious past that Kausambi enjoyed once upon a time. The pillar is important since it shows that Kausambi stood at the meeting point of the two great trade routes in India. These were the Uttarpath and the Dakshinapath. Till today they form a large part of the great Indian Z, the essential frame of the national road system. For the present-day residents of Kausambi, the historical facts of their village are not important. The rock of facts has been covered by layers and layers of myth.
इस किले के पूरब की तरफ कौसम खराज है और बाउंड्री के आखिर में एक मकाम बताया जाता है कि किले का गेट था। उस गेट पर जब खुदाई हुई तो एक लाश का ढांचा मिला जिसकी सिर्फ हड्डियां थी, जिसके सीने पे एक तीर रखा हुआ था। तो ये रिसर्च चेक करके उन लोगों ने बताया कि ये दरबान था और किले की हिफाजत कर रहा था। जब गनीम आया और हमला किया तो मारा गया और किले की जब फसील दीवारें गिरने लगी तो उसी में दब करके रह गया।
There are many other instances too of how casually history is treated in India. India has adopted the symbols of the Mauryan king Ashoka as the symbols of a modern nation. Logically, therefore, it should have particularly looked after Ashokan monuments. And yet, take this Ashokan rock inscription in the heart of Delhi. Other civilizations would have taken great care of such a rock, if only because it has among the oldest specimens of writing carved on it. This rock inscription, however, is a picture of neglect. Many centuries ago, the Chinese traveller Huan Sang had recorded that Indians were given to a strange habit. They ascribed the wonderful monuments of their antiquity to the handiwork of gods and demons. This holds true even today in an age which is said to be passing from modernity to post-modernity. It's truly surprising to note how many monuments are described as having been built by agencies other than human.
Actually, Ajanta, the valley of Ajanta caves, today what we call it Waghora Valley. See, this valley was known as Bhoot Kidari or Valley of Ghosts. According to these people, the colossal work which is being carried out by those people or which is carved out of a rock is not a work of human being. Either this work must have been completed by the gods or by the ghosts.
Belief in the supernatural does not mean that modernity has bypassed historical India. In fact, India has dealt with modernity in many ways.
Modern India, in that term, both modern and India are important. So it's not a superimposition of certain Western ideas on to Indian society, but a complex and ever-changing mixture of what is traditional or past and what is present and bits of future. Modern India is also the replacement of Taya, Phupha, Chacha by uncle and Phuphi and Masi by auntie. Modern India is also bride burning, not after the husband is dead, which was Sati, but when he's alive, because he has not got the refrigerator that was required or the video that was required. So modern India then is the way in which the passage of time in the late 19th century or in the late 20th century is not felt uniformly in all aspects of Indian life in across all strata of Indian society. That's how modern, so that modern India is not the replacement of one thing by another, but a complex mixture of different sorts of things in changing times.
Modernity is also visible in India through one of its most unfortunate effects, industrial pollution. This threatens not only India's present and future, but also its past.
Our sense of history may be monumental, but we treat our monuments with extreme indifference. Take the case even of the Taj Mahal, India's best known monument. Only decades after it was built, it was more or less abandoned. It was pillaged by several marauders. Then the British soldiers used it as a camping site where they held drinking parties. Even today, well after independence and well after the Taj Mahal was declared a protected monument, it is still threatened, now by pollution, environmental and otherwise, and by encroachments from various sides.
Modernity takes many shapes in India. There are gigantic public works like the railways which revolutionize transport and communications. The very composition of the workforce toiling on such projects shows the effects of these changes. For example, the nature and extent of migration.
बिहार में सर काम ऐसा चलता नहीं है और बेकारी ज्यादा उधर है. जिधर काम होता है उधर आदमी जाता है. बॉम्बे में भाई मेरा था इस कंपनी में और वहाँ से वो फिर कंपनी आई काली नदी करवार में भाई मेरा आया. घर से हमको बुलाया यहाँ करवार में. करवार से हम यहाँ हैं.
But the coin has another side. Even as India races through the centuries on tracks of steel, the progress is not linear. One mode does not replace another, but many modes coexist. And Indian history has come to terms with the simultaneous rather than the consecutive. Even in day-to-day existence, not much seems to have changed, at least for some of its people. In comparison, urban Bangalore appears to be located not only in another space, but in another time altogether. Better than the village or the city, it's the bazaar that represents the complexity of Indian life. It not only deals in commodities which have been used for centuries, but also adapts them to the present. Take the pots that have been used by women from time immemorial to carry and store water. The shape of the pot has evolved to suit the usage. While the bazaars accepted the shape, change has come in the material used. Clearly, the bazaar represents the trends of both continuity and change in India. But food is not beyond class and time. What these poor tribals eat is the best indicator of their state of being. At the same time, there is the high-tech fast food industry. This caters as much to traditional tastes as to modern lifestyles, indicating perhaps the shape of things to come. The many forms of fishing carried out in different parts of the country point to an important fact. That is the coexistence of many forms of food gathering and food production. There's the lonely fisherman sitting by the Ganga with his rod and line. There's also collective activity. These fishermen are operating Chinese fishing nets, which tower like some menacing dinosaur over the waters of Kerala. There are the fishermen who travel deep into the sea to cast their nets. There are also the rickety fishing boats, which are barely serviceable enough to allow the fisherfolk to bring home the catch. It's a mark of caste and profession in India that social status does not necessarily correspond to economic levels. Take the fisherfolk again. All of them belong to the same caste formation, but their lifestyles differ. The poor fishermen of Orissa exist at a very traditional and even rudimentary level. By contrast, the fisherfolk of Goa are much better off materially. In Mumbai, they even have enough leisure to enjoy some of the goodies of consumer culture. Given such wildly varying levels of coexistence, it's not surprising that monuments and memorials acquire very different meanings from the ones originally intended. Take the statue in the grounds of the Victoria Memorial in Calcutta. It depicts General Outram on horseback. The statue itself is very clearly that of a European. The saddlecloth too clearly bears the British insignia. And yet, till recently, the statue was venerated as one of Maharana Pratap. This is perhaps because the Prince of Mewar is normally portrayed as astride his valiant horse Chetak. Such myth-making of historical figures cannot only be attributed to popular ignorance. It's at times a deliberate move. Take the case of Tipu Sultan. He took on the might of the British, imprisoning several of them, including Colonel Bailey, in this dungeon in the fort at Sringapatnam. Myth has been built even around Tipu, who was a relatively recent and well-known historical figure. The result is that the memorial to this remarkable monarch is little visited. And Tipu, the ruler, who realized the importance of the coexistence of different religions, is more a legend than a reality. At the level of the people, the coexistence of religions is a fact of day-to-day life. This dargah is in an obscure village in Karnataka. The simple shrine stands as an example of the unity among the followers of different faiths.
यहाँ से गांव वाले छोटे गांव साहब, ये छोटे गांव रहे तो मुस्लिम लोगों का घर ये 3-4 है 25 नहीं, यहाँ से क्या है हिंदू मुस्लिम का भेद नहीं है साहब. ये कन्नड़ा है, लिंगायत वाले है, स्वामी वाले है, सब लोगों यांचे सहकार है साहब, है सब लोगों यहाँ से मुस्लिम हिंदू तो भेद नहीं है यहाँ एक चीज है.
Faith is expressed in many ways. It's interesting that in the whole of India there are very few known temples dedicated to the god of creation, Brahma. There is, however, a Brahma temple at Pushkar in Ajmer. The many coins embedded in the temple's floors and walls tell a tale of piousness expressed through material means. They are perhaps an instance of rendering unto God what is Caesar's. The combination of the material and the spiritual, of the mundane and the aesthetic, has characterized India. This is evident at the Raja Kelkar Museum in Pune. The museum exhibits tools and implements of day-to-day life painstakingly collected. The collection clearly shows that there is an expression of aesthetic sensibility in the day-to-day life of ordinary people. However, there is order in a museum. The bazaar itself, where such items are traded, presents an anarchy of form and content. Indians have still not perfected either collective civic consciousness or, despite their veneration of nature, respect for ecology. Such disregard of the ecology threatens traditional modes of existence. Ecological degradation, of course, has many causes. Even the commercialization of timber resources and consequent deforestation is due to many factors.
What really begins to influence the question of deforestation is when the roads come into Himachal and the local people begin to regard timber more as a commercial resource rather than one that was to be used for their own purposes. The whole attitude towards timber begins to change, and I think that lies at the basis of the entire approach towards forests and forestry.
The consequences of the commercialization of natural resources are many. One aspect is the dependence of the economy on scarce petroleum resources. The oil wells in Gujarat and elsewhere do not satisfy the growing demand. And yet, transport based on fossil fuels grows steadily, in the bargain uniting India through an intricate road grid. The integration of the economy also leads to homogenization of culture. Part of this is on account of the spread of transport and communication. Many forms of transport coexist in just one location. This might suggest that even people who live in the same space and time are in completely different categories from each other. Sociologists can be tempted to put them in separate pigeonholes. But the fact is that even the multiplicity of forms of existence is part of one organic whole. This is so even though there are not only technological but also linguistic and other differences among the Indian people. The different levels of living of the Indian people is literally evident at Shimla. At the mall we see evidence of the elite, both colonial and post-colonial. The lower bazaar, on the other hand, reflects the commercial life of the ordinary people. And if there are reminders of an apocalyptic event like the partition of the country, it's only through wistful and little noticed shop signs. Together these pluralities make up the Republic of India. Its symbol today flutters over spaces which ordinary Indians were once barred from entering. Spaces that once were the exclusive preserve of the colonialists and their high-living allies. Post-colonial culture took over the colonial spaces. This is clear from a drive around Delhi's Connaught Place. Despite attempts at renaming it, it retains a British name, but has acquired a very definite Indian persona. This persona is both traditional and modern. The transition to modernity has not been easy. Take the case of Kerala. Reformers like Narayan Guru had to launch strong social reform movements here before the idea of social egalitarianism could take root. Today's Kerala presents a picture of tremendous political mobilization. It has the highest degree of literacy and there is other evidence of social development. However, it was not always like this.
The segmentation of Indian history into the ancient, medieval and modern periods is an absurdity in almost all cases. However, while it can pass muster in the case of North Indian history in some respects, in the case of Kerala it is absolutely absurd. Kerala finds mention in the inscriptions of Ashok, and from then it has had a long history, a long continuity with almost imperceptible changes. It is not that changes have not taken place in Kerala. Grave changes have taken place. Lots of people have come here, from the Arab traders to the Christians to the Portuguese to the Dutch to the British. They have all come to Kerala to trade in spices. However, their coming and going has not changed Kerala society in such a dramatic way as has happened in the north. One of the reasons for this is political. But more than political, it is an ecological reason. Nature has been very kind to Kerala. It has given it all kinds of bounties, all kinds of trees and plants which have commercial value. However, nature has also been unkind to Kerala in that it has not made agriculture very easy. And since agriculture was not easy, the kind of feudalism which developed in North India, or for that matter in other parts of South India, did not develop in Kerala in the same respect. Thus, the two motors of change in Kerala were the traders and the labourers. First, it was the traders who provided the kind of capital with which Kerala could trade with the rest of the world and accumulate more and more capital. And then it was the labour movements which have changed Kerala. In recent decades, it is labour which has got unionized, organized against very heavy odds and has created a kind of social democracy which is available in Kerala and which is not available anywhere else in the country.
What Kerala achieved through mass mobilization still appears to be a distant future for most other parts of India. In these places, peasants and agricultural labourers are still organizing themselves to demand that the promises made by the Republic are met. The point is that if Kerala can do it, so can the rest of India. Punjab, for instance, has reached enviable levels of economic development. Factories in Ludhiana and elsewhere present a picture of sophisticated industrial activity. And of course, agriculture has always been the dominant aspect of Punjabi culture. Huge harvester combines are a common sight. However, the bulletproof tractor, also common in the Punjab until recently, today appears just as an oddity. Sikhism combines both individual piety and a sense of the collective. These two are historically evolved. There are other cases in India which reflect both historical continuities and breaks. The case of Buddhism is one example. The memory of the most famous son of India was lost for centuries in his homeland, integrated with the numerous gods that seem to crowd the Hindu pantheon. Buddhism traveled to other parts of Asia like China, Japan and Southeast Asia to acquire a new face, form and glory. Buddhism has seen a recent revival in India. The Japanese themselves have built new temples in India like this one at Rajgir. The idea of renunciation still remains. However, today the meaning is more political and radical than ever before. Buddhism has been chosen by the Dalit movement as their own middle path to the breaking of old social iniquities. Other religions too continue. The architectural grandeur of the Anglican churches in Calcutta is not diminished by the falling numbers of the congregation. The little churches of Goa are integral to village life. Religion and rites of passage are also integrally connected, whether it's in a wedding in a grand church or in a temple. Religion also provides succor to all manners of people seeking various favors. The Sufi shrines in particular continue to attract supplicants as they have for centuries. Religious sites have also represented the uneasy relationship between organized religion and state power. This tension has been an endemic feature of Indian civilization. This is in spite of the fact that religion has not completely overtaken day-to-day life. Even the partition of the country on communal grounds and the recent rise of religious fundamentalism has not torn apart the secular fabric of India. Indian culture has been characterized by tolerance and even syncretism. But it must be remembered that when religion entered the realm of real politics, it led to the vivisection of India.
Civilizations get formed over millennia, but nations are invented. This fact becomes most clear when you stand at the Wagah border between India and Pakistan. Both belong to the same civilizational heritage. Today, they are two different nations. Pakistan was invented on the basis of religion, and a two-nation theory was propounded. That invention was obviously absurd, because very soon after the formation of Pakistan, Bangladesh, which belonged to the same religious affiliation, broke away. In the case of India, the invention was on different premises. The premises in the Indian case were democracy, plurality, a constitutional order. The Pakistani historians talk of 5,000 years of Pakistan. That is absurd. After all, there was no Pakistan when Mohenjo-daro existed. There was no boundary. There was no barbed wire between the two countries. And competitive historiography between the two countries is also absurd. Our Harappans are better than their Harappans. Our Indus Valley is better than their Indus Valley. These are stupid statements, and yet they become part of historiography.
The rituals at the Wagah border between India and Pakistan represent nationalistic fervor. They also point to civilizational tragedy. If in India there's still pride in ancestry and hope for the progeny, it's because the people have deliberately adopted republicanism. We've given to ourselves a constitution based on liberty, equality, and fraternity. In doing so, we've sought to combine ancient traditions with modern sensibilities. This has resulted in inventing India in the most creative way.